Today I'm on the subject of having no fear of the devil. So stay tuned for the teaching. Today I'm talking about the fact that we should not fear the devil. We should have, in other words, what you fear you respect. So don't respect the devil. I'm going to share some things with you today I believe that'll put things into proper perspective. In fact, I'm going to show you some of the limitations that the devil has. In other words, the devil is not equal to God. He's a created being. He hasn't got that kind of power. I mean, it's not that he doesn't have any power, but we've got Jesus. And there's nothing greater than Jesus. In other words, Jesus has defeated the devil, in other words. And so you've got nothing to be afraid of when it comes to the devil. And so and one of the examples I'm going to begin with is in Exodus. In fact, it's the conflict between Moses and Pharaoh. And what I believe it was a conflict between, of course, the God and the devil. And such. And so one of the things we're seeing here in chapter 7 of Exodus, starting here in verse 1, it says, "So the Lord said to Moses, See, I have made you as a god to Pharaoh, and Aaron your brother shall be your prophet." And down in verse 10 it says this, "So Moses and Aaron went into Pharaoh, and they did so just as the Lord commanded. And Aaron cast down his rod before Pharaoh and before his servants, and it became a serpent." In other words, we're beginning to see what God told Moses to do and some natural manifestations to begin the fact that beginning to reveal that when Moses is showing up before Pharaoh, it's like, okay, you're not just dealing with a natural person anymore. You're dealing now with the creator of the universe, God, because here's something supernatural beyond the natural that's manifesting. And one of the first things I'd like to show you is, of course, the area of the plagues. I'd like to focus on 3 of the plagues just to reveal to you the limitations of the devil, because in the first plague, what we see is the water became blood, and this is in verse 17. "Thus saith the Lord, By this you will know that I am the Lord. Behold, I will strike the waters which are in the river with the rod that is in my hand, and they shall be turned to blood." Verse 22 says, "Then the magicians of Egypt did so with their enchantments, and Pharaoh's heart grew hard, and he did not heed them as the Lord had said." Look, just on these 2 passages, what I'm sharing with you here is the fact what God told Moses to do. He struck it. It became like blood, of the words. And then the magicians, to show that, look, this God is not powerful, they went and did the same thing through their magic as well. In other words, through not just the magic of man, but we're talking about the demonic manifestation here through the devil and what he did in that situation. But then it goes to the second plague. So it's a continuation here. We find in Exodus chapter 8 and verse 5, "Then the Lord spoke to Moses, Say to Aaron, Stretch out your hand with your rod over the streams, over the rivers, over the ponds, and cause frogs to come up on the land of Egypt." Then we also find this in verse 7, "And the magicians did so with their enchantments and brought up frogs on the land of Egypt." Look, God brought frogs, the devil brought frogs. And so again, the effect it had upon Pharaoh is that, look, there's a contest between 2 gods here, so to speak. The one who is not actually a god, but the true God. And so the devil is matching supernaturally with everything God is doing here. But the third plague is where we see a difference. In fact, verse 16 of Exodus chapter 8 says this, "So the Lord said to Moses, Say to Aaron, Stretch out your rod and strike the dust of the land so that it may become lice throughout all the land of Egypt." Verse 18 says, "Now the magicians so worked with their enchantments to bring forth lice, but they could not." You see, it went beyond just the demonic realm able to influence a creature like a frog to make them do something? Look, the demonic realm influences people, the unbelievers that don't have the Spirit of God within their heart. I mean, there's demonic manifestations today happening with unbelievers where they believe it's aliens. It's nothing but the demonic realm that's happening. And so the area of something turning like blood, something water turning to something, look, there can be demonic manifestations of things, but the devil is not a God. He's a created being. He's limited. Other words, what took place here when Aaron stretched out, say to Aaron, stretch out your rod. When the rod was stretched out and touched the ground, then what happened was this. Something became lice. The dust, the dirt, it became lice. We're talking about creation. Only God is the creator of the earth. Only God is a creator. The devil is limited. And so I'm going to encourage you, don't fear the devil. You know, Hebrews chapter 2, verse 14 says, insomuch then as the children have partaked of flesh and blood, he himself likewise shared in the same, that through his death he might destroy him who had the power of death, that is the devil. In other words, the devil by Jesus has been destroyed at the cross. You've got nothing to fear. Colossians chapter 2, verse 14 says, having wiped out the handwriting of requirements that was against us, which was contrary to us, that he has taken it out of the way, having nailed it to the cross. Having disarmed principalities and powers, he made a public spectacle of them, triumphing over them. Look, it's been nailed to the cross. Every time you see the bad, whether it's physical, whether it's financial, whether it's relational, no matter what the areas of life, you need to see it nailed to the cross. Don't exalt the bad. Nail it to the cross. In other words, believe what's taken place through Christ at the cross and not what you're seeing in the natural. Verse 15, having disarmed principalities, powers, and made a public spectacle of them, triumphing over them. Jesus is triumphing. He made a public spectacle of them. He disarmed them. I'm telling you, you've got nothing to be afraid of when it comes to the devil.